Good morning, everyone. I'm Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson. Thanks for joining us once again for our weekly live stream where we provide updates on our local homeless emergency. Today, I'm joined by Paul Duncan once again, the Homeless Services Bureau Manager at our health department. Paul's going to be talking about the 2023 homeless point in time count results that we shared. Last week, I, along with our city team, announced the results of the 2023 count. The City Council approved the declaration of emergency only 16 days prior to the homeless count, and this count now serves as a baseline of our work moving forward. Special thanks to all the hundreds of volunteers who came out and joined us at this year's point-in-time homeless count. We had more folks present than we'd ever had in any other time in our history. In the 2023 count, we saw slower growth than we've seen in several years. And while this slowdown is encouraging, we have to remain focused on the urgent need to address the systemic causes of homelessness. It tells us a lot, and we'll hear a little bit about what the data share with us. But before we get into today's topic, I'd like to share with you some other important updates. Last week, First to Serve and the Homeless Services team, with the support of volunteers and other city departments, mobilized and got our new emergency shelter up at the old Rescue Mission West Coast Shoppers facility. The folks who were in our winter shelter at Community Hospital have now moved over to the new emergency shelter. That's a success. This will operate through the end of July. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been anywhere for those individuals to go. This is the first time we've opened up shelter in these extended months beyond the winter. And we're continuing to look further ahead because we know that more shelter is needed, not just during the winter, not during the spring, but throughout the whole year. Interim housing is a vital tool to addressing homelessness, and we're continuing to explore new opportunities now. And now on to today's topic. I want to share a few top-line data points from this year's homeless count. The annual count identified 3,447 people in our city experiencing homelessness in January 2023, compared to 3,296 people in 2022. This number signifies a 4.6% increase from last year, which is the smallest increase that Long Beach has reported in years. In comparison to the 2022 count, the number of people experiencing first-time homelessness increased 18% from 1,549 to 1,827. That means the folks experiencing homeless for the first time, that number increased. 53% of those surveyed report experiencing the first episode of homelessness, while 39% are experiencing chronic homelessness, which means that they've been homeless for more than a year and have a disabling condition. Of those surveyed experiencing first-time homelessness, 59% of those first-time homeless individuals are sheltered. 18% are living in a vehicle, and 19% of those report experiencing homelessness for less than a year. So Paul is here with us today to dive a little bit deeper into the data and the story that it tells as a part of our 2023 homeless count. So good morning, Paul. Welcome back to our live stream.
Thanks, Mayor. Great to be back here.
So what is this data? What does this tell us?
So I want to share a little bit about our results from this year.
Sure.
As you covered, the 2023 count showed a relatively stable number when we compare to the 2022 point-in-time count. I want to start by thanking our dedicated volunteers and staff as you did. We had 300 volunteers that came out this year. They give us the ability to develop the annual report and to analyze what's occurring within the community. Although this is not a perfect science, this commitment allows us to feel confident in this effort is holistic and is consistent from year to year. The homeless count data allows the city the insight of who's experiencing homelessness within the city. The data from the count is analyzed along with other data collected throughout the year to identify trends and service needs, as well as to assist in determining how our resources are allocated and how we make sure that we're reaching the different populations and the different needs. We have been working hard to increase shelter and to connect people to permanent housing, and we are already seeing promising results. As you identified, this is a story of capacity. We see high utilization of our low barrier shelter beds that are available, and we are making swift progress in getting the 582 emergency housing vouchers that we received leased up. We just have less than 50 remaining to go, so we're making great progress.
That's great progress.
And we now know we need even more beds, both interim housing, and that provides a safe place for people to go right now, and more affordable housing, which is our permanent solution and really allows us to reduce our numbers. So all these are needed to continue to make progress in reducing the number of people experiencing homelessness. As we make progress getting towards reducing homelessness for people, we see that people are falling in each day, and we have new people experiencing homelessness. Within our count data, as well as research, there are strong indicators as to why this might be, with the main indicator in any region really being related to housing affordability. Which is a challenge as many households are facing here in Long Beach, as well as Southern California as a region. It's not anything unique to Long Beach.
Right.
It's something we face as a state and a region. When asked people during the count what led to their homelessness, 35% of people said it's due to financial hardship, 27% said due to family disruption, and 16% said it was due to an eviction that they went through. The current crisis is one stemming from local challenges. Community members experiencing homelessness predominantly became homeless within the region, with 83.4% having become homeless within LA County and 91.4% within the state of California. So these are our neighbors that have been living with us and came upon a hard time and are now experiencing homelessness within our community. Looking at more personal individual levels data and who is at highest risk of experiencing homelessness, we see several indicators that are directly related. Nearly 1 in 5 people that we surveyed, so 19%, identified experiencing homelessness in Long Beach are former foster youth. So they went through our systems. They're, struggling as they come out of the foster care system. They don't have maybe the family support that somebody that grew up in a household that didn't go through that is experiencing. We have a lot of people experiencing trauma through their childhood. More than 15% report having experienced child abuse. More than 16% reported being neglected as a child. And in addition to trauma, the data demonstrates the complexity of our mental health and substance use as a whole. As it relates to homelessness, mental health and substance use related issues can be caused as well as exacerbated by trauma really experienced throughout lifetime, but especially as people are falling into and experiencing homelessness. When asked what led to their homelessness, 11% of people said mental health issues and 10% said substance use issues. And when asked generally about their health and wellness, 35% reported having a serious mental health issue, which was the top related health and wellness concern from people surveyed, and 32% reported having a substance use disorder. We know that mental health and trauma play a role in reasons people become homeless, but it's difficult to fully see how much it is related. The one thing that is clear is that homelessness leads to poor health and wellness, and that many people see a deterioration within their mental health and an increase of use of drugs as they're experiencing homelessness. In fact, the 2022 point-in-time count revealed a large increase in the number of people experiencing homelessness with serious mental health conditions, and that's continued on. So I think we are also seeing some exacerbation from the pandemic. This trend continues into 2023, so no major changes as we look at who's experiencing homelessness. This continues to be our main issue. We provide additional analysis of groups of individuals in order to better understand who they are and what might be done to improve the state of their mental health. In addition, 204 people, or 19%, said it was their first time homelessness and that they had been homeless for less than a year. So it's really our newly homeless individuals. We focused on these newly homeless to provide insights into which populations are currently at greatest risk of losing their housing. A newly homeless respondent is significantly more likely to list domestic violence as a cause of why they became homeless compared to the overall homeless population. The newly homeless are more likely to identify as women or as gender non-binary. We are also seeing an increase in people that identify as Latinx or Hispanic as experiencing homelessness for the first time. So historically, we've not seen as great of a population of Latinx individuals experiencing homelessness. It has now become more proportional as we see newly homeless individuals. Areas of positive signs as we look at the data, we did see a reduction of 20% of our veterans experiencing homelessness, going from 451 in 2022 to 361 in 2023. And while it is clear there are many families struggling and at high risk, which is of some concern, of potentially falling into homelessness, we see the number of families in shelters and living in unsheltered situations remains low here in Long Beach, with less than 30 families experiencing homelessness at a given point. So these are some of the data that we see within that, yet there's a much richer data set, as you know.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, it's great that we have fresh data, right? And it's interesting the stories that are the story that it tells, and it helps inform our work. So if we know that individuals, like what you highlighted, who were formerly in the foster care system, are a significant driver of homelessness, then that tells us that we have to invest in more strategies around transition age youth, foster youth, and youth in general, because that's an upstream strategy. If you can intervene in their lives at transition age, you can prevent an entire lifetime of poverty or homelessness. And so you'll see us talk about this more. Also, the amount of individuals who self-report mental health issues is key. Tonight at City Council, we'll be having a robust conversation about localizing mental health and what strategies we can do, even though we are not responsible for mental health services. That's a county function. We can contribute to the strategy and the capacity that we have on the ground to localize mental health, build a more robust infrastructure for mental health in our communities. This is a conversation that's been ongoing. I introduced this conversation to the City Council more than a year ago. And we set aside resources in last year's budget to go out and get a consultant and do this work. And I think it's coming right on time. This presentation is coming the week after the homeless count tells us that we need a more robust local infrastructure for homelessness. So I think, as we continue to, go through our emergency and get through sort of our short, our medium, and long-term goals, I think this data is going to be really helpful to us in making sure that the programs and strategies align with the need on the ground. I also would say that the amount of new individuals experiencing homelessness, that increase is really interesting. That means of that share, we have fewer individuals experiencing chronic homelessness than we had in the story with our last point in time homeless count. I think that's interesting that we're seeing progress on chronic homeless, but more and more individuals experiencing homeless. So we have to get to the conversation about affordable housing and poverty, right, faster.
Yep. So,
we have to find we have to figure out how we build more capacity to invest in local affordable housing here in our communities. So, great conversation. I want to, thank you, Paul. The full report, you can read it for yourself, is available at longbeach.gov/homelessness. There's a lot more work to be done, but we've really stepped up our efforts and we'll continue to do more. And every week we'll have more announcements about our emergency response efforts. And I encourage you all to continue to stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now we'll proceed with interpretation in Spanish and in Khmer. Thank you.
Buenos días a todos. Hoy acompañó al alcalde de Long Beach, Rex Richardson, el gerente de la Oficina de Servicios para Personas Sin Hogar, Paul Duncan, del Departamento de Salud, para hablar sobre los resultados del conteo de 2023 de las personas sin hogar en el momento. El Consejo Municipal aprobó la proclamación de emergencia solo 16 días antes del conteo de personas sin hogar, y este conteo ahora sirve como referencia para nuestro trabajo en el futuro. En el conteo de 2023 vimos un crecimiento más lento que el que hemos tenido en varios años. Si bien esta declaración es alentadora, si bien esta desaceleración es alentadora, debemos permanecer enfocados en la necesidad urgente de abordar el problema sistémico de las causas de personas sin hogar. Queremos compartir algunos de los puntos de datos principales del conteo de personas sin hogar de este año. El conteo anual identificó a 3,447 personas sin hogar en enero de 2023, en comparación con 3,296 personas en el 2022. Este número significa un aumento de 4.6% desde el último año, que es el aumento más pequeño que ha tenido Long Beach reportado desde el 2019. En comparación con el conteo de 2022, el número de personas sin vivienda por primera vez aumentó en un 18% de 1,549 a 1,827. 53 personas o 53% de los encuestados reportaron haber experimentado su primer episodio de falta de vivienda, mientras que el 39% están sin hogar de manera crónica, lo que significa que han estado sin hogar por más de un año y tienen una condición de invalidez. De los encuestados que pasaron por primera vez el estar sin hogar, 59% tienen refugio, 18% viven en un vehículo y el 19% reportan estar sin hogar por menos de un año. Los datos del conteo de personas sin hogar le permiten a la ciudad conocer quién está pasando por falta de vivienda dentro de la ciudad. Los datos del conteo se analizan junto con otros datos recopilados a lo largo del año para identificar tendencias y necesidades de servicio, así como ayudar a determinar cómo se utilizan los recursos asignados. Hemos estado trabajando arduamente para aumentar el alojamiento y conectar a las personas con viviendas permanentes y ya estamos viendo resultados prometedores. Y conocemos que aún más camas, tanto de vivienda provisional, un lugar seguro para que la gente vaya ahora mismo y más asequible vivienda, la solución permanente, son todos necesarios para hacer avances en la reducción del número de personas que están sin hogar. A medida que avanzamos en conseguir alojamiento para las personas, otras personas se están quedando sin hogar todos los días. Dentro de nuestros datos de conteo, así como de investigación, hay fuertes indicadores de por qué esto podría ser, con el principal indicador en cualquier región, está relacionado con la asequibilidad de la vivienda, que es una dificultad que enfrentan muchos hogares aquí en Long Beach y en el sur de California. Cuando se les preguntó a las personas durante el conteo qué los llevó a estar sin hogar, el 35% de las personas dijeron que se debe a problemas económicos y el 27% debido a la ruptura familiar, 16% dijo que fue por desalojo. La crisis actual es una que proviene de las dificultades locales. Miembros de la comunidad sin hogar principalmente se quedaron sin hogar dentro de la región, con el 83.4% de las personas sin hogar dentro del condado de Los Ángeles y el 91.4% dentro del estado de California. Mirando a un nivel individual más personal y quién está en mayor riesgo de pasar sin hogar, vemos varios indicadores que están directamente relacionados. Casi una de cada 5 personas, o 19%, que está sin hogar en Long Beach son jóvenes de crianza temporal. Más del 15% sufrió maltrato infantil y más del 16% informó haber sido descuidado cuando era niño. Además del trauma, los datos demuestran la complejidad de la salud mental y el uso de sustancias, ya que se relaciona con la falta de vivienda. Los problemas relacionados con la salud mental y el uso de sustancia pueden ser causados, así como exacerbado, por un trauma. Cuando se les preguntó qué los llevó a quedarse sin hogar, el 11% de la gente dijo problemas de salud mental y el 10% dijo sustancias o problemas de uso de sustancias. Y cuando se les preguntó de manera más general sobre su salud y bienestar, el 35% informó tener un problema de salud mental grave y el 32% informó tener un trastorno por uso de sustancias. Sabemos que la salud mental y el trauma tienen un papel en motivos por los que personas se quedan sin hogar, pero es difícil ver completamente cuánto está relacionado. Lo único que está claro es que la falta de hogar o falta de vivienda lleva a una peor salud y bienestar, y que muchas personas ven un deterioro de la salud mental y un aumento en su uso de drogas. El informe completo de 2023 está disponible en longbeach.gov/homelessness. Y hay mucho más trabajo por hacer, pero realmente hemos intensificado nuestros esfuerzos. Tendremos más anuncios sobre nuestros esfuerzos de respuesta de emergencia en las próximas semanas y animamos a todos a estar atentos. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy.
Basam chimri su bong po on tang akhani thani ku apibal krong long bai lok Rex Richardson មានភ្ញៀវមួយរូបមកចូលរួមនៅក្នុងកម្មវិធីផ្សាយផ្ទាល់ប្រចាំសប្តាហ៍របស់យើងគឺលោក Paul Duncan ដែលជាអ្នកគ្រប់គ្រងការិយាល័យសេវាជនអាណាដ្ឋាននៃនាយកដ្ឋានសុខាភិបាលរបស់ក្រុងឡុងបិចរបស់យើងដែលលោកនឹងជម្រាបជូនបងប្អូនអំពីលទ្ធផលនៃការរាប់ចំនួនជនអាណាដ្ឋានកាលពីដើមឆ្នាំ2023កន្លងទៅនេះក្រុមប្រឹក្សាក្រុងឡុងបិចបានឯកភាពលើសេចក្តីប្រកាសដាក់ភាពអនាថាជាបញ្ហាបន្ទាន់ដែលការប្រកាសនេះធ្វើឡើងនៅតែ16ថ្ងៃតែប៉ុណ្ណោះនៅមុនដំណើរការចាប់រាប់ចំនួនប្រជាពលរដ្ឋអនាថានោះឥឡូវនេះព័ត៌មាននៃការរាប់ចំនួនជនអនាថាទាំងនេះបានคล้ายទៅជាចំណុចចាប់ផ្ដើមនិងជាម៉ែត្រវាស់សម្រាប់ការងារទៅអនាគតរបស់យើងបាននៅក្នុងការរាប់ចំនួនជនអនាថាឆ្នាំ2023កន្លងទៅនេះយើងសង្កេតឃើញមានចំនួនកើនឡើងតិចតួចជាងតួលេខនៃជនអនាថាកាលពីឆ្នាំមុនបើទោះបីជាចំនួនកើនឡើងតិចតួចនេះគឺជាដំណឹងល្អដែលជាការលើកទឹកចិត្តដល់កិច្ចខិតខំប្រឹងប្រែងរបស់យើងយ៉ាងណាក្តីក៏យើងនៅតែត្រូវតែបន្តយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ឲ្យបានខ្ពស់នៅក្នុងការដោះស្រាយនិងឆ្លើយតបទៅតាមសេចក្តីត្រូវការជាបន្ទាន់ផ្សេងទៀតដើម្បីដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាជាបន្ទាន់ដែលជាប្រព័ន្ធនិងជាឫសគល់នៃភាពអនាថានេះដែរយើងខ្ញុំចង់ជម្រាបជូនបងប្អូនអំពីទិន្នន័យសំខាន់ខ្លះអំពីការចុះស្រង់ស្ថិតិជនអនាថាកាលពីដើមឆ្នាំនោះបើការរាប់ចំនួនប្រជាពលរដ្ឋអនាថាប្រចាំឆ្នាំរបស់យើងរកឃើញថាមានប្រជាពលរដ្ឋចំនួន3447នាក់កំពុងតែរស់នៅក្នុងស្ថានភាពអនាថាគិតមកត្រឹមខែមករាឆ្នាំ2023កាលពីឆ្នាំ2022ពលរដ្ឋអនាថាមានសរុបចំនួន3296នាក់ចំនួននេះបង្ហាញឲ្យឃើញថាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋអនាថាបានកើនឡើង 4.6% ដែលកើនឡើងពីឆ្នាំមុនដែលចំនួននេះគឺជាការកើនឡើងយ៉ាងតិចតួចបំផុតនៅទីក្រុងឡុងបិចបើគិតចាប់តាំងពីឆ្នាំ2019បើប្រៀបធៀបទៅនឹងការរាប់ចំនួនជនអនាថាកាលពីឆ្នាំ2022យើងឃើញថាចំនួនជនអនាថាបានកើនឡើងចំនួន 18% គឺកើនឡើងពី1549នាក់ទៅដល់1827នាក់បាទ53% នៃអ្នកដែលយើងស្ទង់មតិទាំងអស់បានប្រាប់យើងថាពួកគាត់ទើបតែធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាជាលើកដំបូងចំណែកឯ 39% ទៀតថាពួកគាត់ក្លាយជាជនអនាថាយូរខែឆ្នាំដែលមានន័យថាពួកគាត់គ្មានទីជម្រកស្នាក់នៅបែបនេះអស់រយៈពេលជាង1ឆ្នាំឬរស់នៅក្នុងស្ថានភាពពិការនៅក្នុងចំណោមអ្នកដែលឆ្លើយទៅនឹងការស្ទង់មតិដែលទើបនឹងធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាលើកដំបូងមាន 59% មានទីជម្រកស្នាក់នៅបណ្ដោះអាសន្ននិង 18% កំពុងតែរស់នៅដោយយករថយន្តធ្វើផ្ទះហើយ 19% បានប្រាប់ថាពួកគាត់ធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាទើបតែបានជិតកន្លះឆ្នាំតែប៉ុណ្ណោះទិន្នន័យពីការរាប់ចំនួនជនអនាថានោះ បានជួយឲ្យសាលាក្រុងយើងមើលឃើញកាន់តែច្បាស់អំពីថាតើនរណាខ្លះដែលកំពុងតែរស់នៅក្នុងស្ថានភាពអនាថានៅទីក្រុងរបស់យើងតួលេខពីការរាប់នោះត្រូវបានវិភាគដោយផ្ទៀងផ្ទាត់ជាមួយនឹងតួលេខផ្សេងៗទៀតដែលប្រមូលបានពេញមួយឆ្នាំដើម្បីកំណត់រកទំនោរនិងសេចក្តីត្រូវការផ្នែកសេវាព្រមទាំងជួយកំណត់អំពីមធ្យោបាយដែលត្រូវតែបែងចែកធនធានទៅនោះផងយើងបានបំពេញកិច្ចការនេះយ៉ាងអស់ពីលទ្ធភាពដើម្បីបង្កើនទីជម្រកបណ្ដោះអាសន្ននិងដើម្បីបញ្ជូនបងប្អូនអនាថាទៅរកទីលំនៅអចិន្ត្រៃយ៍ស្របពេលជាមួយគ្នានេះយើងកំពុងតែឃើញលទ្ធផលជាផ្លែផ្កាខ្លះទៅហើយយើងដឹងថានឹងមានក្រែបន្ថែមច្រើនទៀតទាំងសម្រាប់ការផ្ដល់លំនៅឋានបណ្ដោះអាសន្នទីដែលមានសុវត្ថិភាពសម្រាប់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋអនាថាស្នាក់នៅនិងមានលំនៅឋានដែលមានតម្លៃសមរម្យច្រើនបន្ថែមទៀតដែលទាំងនោះគឺជាផ្នែកនៃការដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាលំនៅឋានអចិន្ត្រៃយ៍ដែលត្រូវការជាចាំបាច់ដើម្បីយើងពន្លឿនកិច្ចខិតខំប្រឹងប្រែងរបស់យើងនៅក្នុងការកាត់បន្ថយចំនួនពលរដ្ឋដែលរស់នៅក្នុងភាពអនាថានោះបាទនៅក្នុងពេលដែលយើងបានទទួលផ្លែផ្កានិងជោគជ័យជាបដាបដានៅក្នុងការផ្ដល់លំនៅឋានដល់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋអនាថានេះមានប្រជាពលរដ្ឋផ្សេងទៀតកំពុងតែធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាជារៀងរាល់ថ្ងៃដែរបើតាមតួលេខនៃការរាប់ចំនួនជនអនាថារបស់យើងនិងរបាយការណ៍ស្រាវជ្រាវបង្ហាញឲ្យឃើញនៅសូចនាករជាក់លាក់ហើយច្បាស់លាស់ជាច្រើនដែលបញ្ជាក់ថាបញ្ហាអនាថានេះគឺពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងតម្លៃផ្ទះសម្បែងដែលហួសពីសមត្ថភាពរបស់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋបញ្ហានេះគឺជាចំណុចប្រឈមមួយដែលប្រជាពលរដ្ឋជាច្រើននៅទីក្រុងឡុងប៊ិចនិងភាគខាងត្បូងនៃរដ្ឋកាលីហ្វ័រញ៉ាកំពុងតែជួបប្រទះជារួមដែរពេលដែលយើងសួរប្រជាពលរដ្ឋនៅក្នុងពេលដែលយើងចុះស្រង់មតិពលរដ្ឋអនាថានោះនឹងសួរពួកគាត់ថាតើហេតុអ្វីទើបបានជាពួកគាត់ធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថា35%ឆ្លើយថាដោយសារតែការយ៉ាប់យ៉ឺនផ្នែកលុយកាក់នៅក្នុងជីវភាពគ្រួសារនិង27%ថាដោយសារតែបញ្ហារំខាននៅក្នុងគ្រួសារចំណែកឯ16%ទៀតថាមកពីការបណ្ដេញចេញពីផ្ទះជួលឬក៏ផ្ទះសម្បែងដោយសារតែគ្មានប្រាក់បង់វិបត្តិនេះពេលបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះគឺជាបញ្ហាដែលកើតចេញពីបញ្ហាប្រឈមនៅក្នុងរដ្ឋរបស់យើងដែរពលរដ្ឋនៅក្នុងសហគមន៍ត្រូវធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាភាគច្រើនគឺអ្នកដែលរស់នៅក្នុងតំបន់ដែលក្នុងនោះមាន 83.4% ដែលជាអ្នកធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាគឺជាអ្នកស្រុកនៅឯតំបន់ LA County និង 91.4% គឺជាអ្នកស្រុកពីគ្រប់ទិសទីនៅក្នុងរដ្ឋ California របស់យើងបើយើងពិនិត្យមើលស្ថានភាពកម្រិតបុគ្គលផ្ទាល់ខ្លួនម្នាក់ៗនិងអ្នកដែលមានហានិភ័យខ្ពស់នៅក្នុងការធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថានោះយើងសង្កេតឃើញមានសញ្ញាណបញ្ជាក់ជាច្រើនដែលមានភាពពាក់ព័ន្ធគ្នាដោយផ្ទាល់បើជារួមស្ទើរតែមនុស្សម្នាក់នៅក្នុង5នាក់ឬក៏19%ដែលធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថានៅក្នុងទីក្រុងឡុងប៊ិចគឺជាយុវជនដែលធ្លាប់រស់នៅជាមួយគេមានជាង 15% ធ្លាប់រងអំពើហិង្សាកាលពីកុមារនិងជាង 16% ធ្លាប់ខ្លាយទៅជាកុមារដែលគ្មាននរណាយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ឬអើពើនឹកនាដល់ទន្ទឹមនឹងនេះបញ្ហានៃជំងឺបាក់ស្បាតផ្លូវចិត្តក៏បង្ហាញឲ្យយើងឃើញនៅក្នុងទិន្នន័យនេះដែរតួលេខបង្ហាញអំពីភាពស្មុគស្មាញនៃបញ្ហាផ្លូវចិត្តនិងការប្រាស្រ័យគ្រឿងញៀនដែលពាក់ព័ន្ធគ្នាទៅនឹងការធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថានេះបញ្ហាពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងសុខភាពផ្លូវចិត្តនិងការប្រាស្រ័យគ្រឿងញៀននេះគឺជាបុព្វហេតុឬក៏ជាឫសគល់នៃបញ្ហានិងជាកត្តាដែលធ្វើឲ្យបញ្ហារឹតតែអាក្រក់ឡើងនៅពេលដែលជនទាំងនោះមានបញ្ហាបាក់ស្បាតផ្លូវចិត្តស្រាប់ផងនោះបាទនៅពេលដែលយើងសួរថាតើកត្តាអ្វីដែលនាំឲ្យពួកគាត់ធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថា 11% ឆ្លើយថាមកពីពួកគាត់មានបញ្ហាសុខភាពផ្លូវចិត្តនិង 10% ប្រាប់ថាពួកគាត់មានបញ្ហាដោយសារតែញៀនថ្នាំហើយនៅពេលដែលយើងសួរជាទូទៅជាងនេះអំពីសុខភាពនិងសុខុមាលភាពរបស់ពួកគាត់ 35% ឆ្លើយថាពួកគាត់មានបញ្ហាជំងឺផ្លូវចិត្តនិង 32% ថាពួកគាត់ញៀនថ្នាំកម្រិតធ្ងន់យើងដឹងថាសុខភាពផ្លូវចិត្តនិងជំងឺបាក់ស្បាតផ្លូវចិត្តនេះគឺជាកត្តាមួយនៅក្នុងកត្តាជាច្រើនដែលជាដើមហេតុដែលធ្វើឲ្យមនុស្សធ្លាក់ខ្លួនជាជនអនាថាក៏ប៉ុន្តែវាជាការលំបាកមួយដែរដើម្បីយល់ដឹងឲ្យកាន់តែលម្អិតនិងពេញលេញថាតើបញ្ហានេះវាពាក់ព័ន្ធគ្នាត្រឹមកម្រិតប៉ុណ្ណានោះក៏ប៉ុន្តែអ្វីដែលបានឲ្យឃើញច្បាស់នោះគឺភាពអនាថាគឺនាំទៅរកបញ្ហាសុខភាពដែលកាន់តែដុនដាបជាងមុននិងសុខុមាលភាពដែលកាន់តែអាក្រក់ជាងមុនហើយពលរដ្ឋជាច្រើនជួបបញ្ហាសុខភាពផ្លូវចិត្តនេះកាន់តែខ្លាំងនិងមានទំនោរទៅរកការញៀនថ្នាំកាន់តែខ្លាំងកើនឡើងដែរដោយរស់នៅក្នុងស្ថានភាពអនាថាបែបនេះបាទបងប្អូនចង់បានរបាយការណ៍លម្អិតទាំងស្រុងសម្រាប់ឆ្នាំ2023នេះបងប្អូនអាចចូលមើលគេហទំព័រនេះគឺ longbeach.gov/homelessness បាទយើងនៅមានកិច្ចការច្រើនទៀតណាស់ដែលនឹងត្រូវធ្វើជាបន្តទៅទៀតដើម្បីដោះស្រាយបញ្ហានេះបើទោះបីជាយ៉ាងនេះក្តីយើងបានបោះជំហាននឹងដុតដៃដុតជើងជាច្រើនមកហើយដើម្បីរួមគ្នាដោះស្រាយយើងនឹងមានដំណឹងថ្មីនឹងចុងក្រោយបន្ថែមច្រើនទៀតដើម្បីជម្រាបជូនបងប្អូនអំពីកិច្ចខិតខំប្រឹងប្រែងរបស់យើងក្នុងការដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាបន្ទាន់នៃភាពអនាថានេះបាទសូមបងប្អូនបន្តតាមដាននឹងទស្សនាការផ្សាយផ្ទាល់របស់យើងនាសប្តាហ៍ក្រោយបន្តទៅទៀតយើងខ្ញុំសូមអរគុណបងប្អូនដែលបានត្រង់ត្រាប់ស្ដាប់និងទស្សនាការផ្សាយផ្ទាល់នៅថ្ងៃនេះបាទសូមអរគុណនិងសូមជម្រាបលា